Right now, while you are watching this, your brain is doing something. Not the part that is listening to me, the other part. The part running underneath, quiet and invisible. The part you never notice because you never turn it off. Scientists have a name for it. And when they discovered what it was actually doing, it changed everything we thought we knew about productivity, creativity, and why you feel guilty every time you sit still. The answer is going to make you angry. Not at yourself, at the people who told you something was wrong with you. Because nothing is wrong with you. Your brain was never built for what modern life is asking it to do. And the harder you fight it, the more damage you cause. Let's start with a number, 20. Your brain is 2% of your body weight. It uses 20% of your body's total energy every single day. Whether you are running a marathon or lying on your couch staring at the ceiling, that last part is what nobody talks about. In 2001, a neurologist named Marcus Raichle at Washington University in St. Louis noticed something that made no sense. He was scanning the brains of volunteers and asking them to do nothing. Just rest. No task. No stimulus. Just lie there. He expected the brain to go quiet. It didn't. Instead, a specific set of regions lit up with intense coordinated activity the moment the volunteers stopped doing anything deliberate. A network so large and so metabolically expensive that Rachel couldn't figure out what it was for. He called it the default mode network. And when he published his findings, the neuroscience world didn't know what to do with them. Because for decades, the assumption had been simple. The brain is active when you're thinking. It rests when you're not. That's how every other organ in your body works. Your heart slows when you sleep. Your lungs breathe shallower. Your muscles go still, not your brain. Your brain burns almost exactly as much energy when you are doing nothing as when you are focused on a task. Sometimes more. The default mode network doesn't rest. It works hard on things your conscious mind has no access to. So what is it actually doing in there? Here is what 20 years of research has pieced together. When you zone out, when you stare out a window, when you lie in bed not quite asleep, your brain switches into a mode of processing that focused attention actually blocks. It starts pulling memories from different parts of your life and connecting them in ways that wouldn't happen if you were concentrating. It processes emotional experiences you haven't had time to understand yet. It runs simulations, scenarios, what ifs. It is working through problems you didn't even know you were carrying. This is where your best ideas come from. Not the meeting, not the deadline, not the forced brainstorm at 2 p.m. with the fluorescent lights. The shower, the walk where you forgot to put your headphones in, the drive you don't remember taking. Archimedes didn't discover the principle of water displacement sitting at a desk. He discovered it in a bath, doing nothing. Newton didn't figure out gravity in a classroom. He was lying in a garden, staring up at a tree. You have heard those stories your whole life and filed them away as charming trivia. They are not trivia. They are the most important productivity data our species has ever produced. And for 300 years, we ignored it. Because in 1817, a man named Robert Owen decided something. He was a Welsh textile manufacturer, factory owner, and he came up with a slogan that changed the entire shape of human life. 8 hours labor, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. Not because science told him this was optimal for the human brain, because he was trying to make a political argument against 14-hour factory shifts. The number 8 was a negotiation. It was a guess. It had nothing to do with how your brain actually works. And that guess became the foundation of modern civilization. Your entire sense of what a productive day looks like, your guilt when you can't focus, your shame when you need to rest, all of it is built on a number a factory owner invented 200 years ago to settle a labor dispute. He didn't scan a single brain. He didn't run a single experiment. He just picked a number. And you have been trying to fit yourself inside it ever since. Here is what the science actually says. In 2016, researchers at the University of Illinois published a study on sustained attention. They discovered that the human brain is physically incapable of maintaining focused attention on a single task for more than about 90 minutes before performance collapses. Not degrades, collapses. You don't get worse slowly, you hit a wall. After that wall, forcing yourself to keep working doesn't produce more output. It produces worse output. And it costs you the recovery your brain needs to think clearly for the rest of the day. This 90-minute cycle has a name. It's called the ultradian rhythm, and it runs on a clock your body has been keeping since long before clocks existed. Your hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't work for 8 hours. They couldn't. The energy cost of sustained focus is too high. They worked in bursts, intense, present, alive. Then they stopped. They sat around fires. They talked. They lay in the sun. They let their minds wander. And during those wandering periods, the default mode network was doing its job, integrating the day, processing what had happened, preparing for what came next. That was not laziness. That was maintenance. You would not call it laziness if your phone needed charging. You call it laziness in yourself because someone told you to. And they told you to because a working, resting, thinking human was harder to schedule than a machine. But the cost of ignoring this is not just lost creativity or worse ideas. The cost is measurable, and it is dark. In 2010, Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert at Harvard built an app that contacted 2,250 people at random moments throughout their day and asked them two questions. What are you doing right now? And how do you feel? The results came out clean and brutal. People were mind-wandering, off task, not focused on what they were doing, about 47% of the time, almost half their waking hours. And in almost every category of activity, people were significantly less happy when their minds were wandering than when they were present. Killingsworth's headline from the paper was this: "A wandering mind is an unhappy mind." That study went everywhere. It became the scientific justification for the entire mindfulness industry. Stay present. Focus. Stop letting your mind wander. 10 minutes of meditation a day. Here is the app. But here is the part that didn't go everywhere. Killingsworth's data showed that mind wandering made people unhappy in the moment. It said nothing about what happened after. Nothing about what the wandering mind was building. Nothing about the ideas that crystallized in the shower the next morning, the emotional processing that happened overnight, the connections that formed in the quiet spaces. The study measured happiness during rest. It never measured the cost of eliminating rest entirely. And we eliminated it anyway. We filled every gap, every commute, every wait, every idle moment. We filled it with podcasts and feeds and notifications and content. The average person now picks up their phone 96 times a day. Every time you do that, you are interrupting the default mode network mid-sentence. You are pulling your brain out of the deepest processing it knows how to do and handing it something that produces nothing in return. You are not resting. You are performing rest while denying your brain the actual thing it needs. And then you wonder why you can't think clearly, why the ideas don't come, why you feel exhausted after a day where you were technically doing nothing. You weren't doing nothing. You were blocking the one process that restores you. There's a researcher named Mary Helen Imordino-Yang at the University of Southern California who has spent her career studying what the default mode network actually builds when you let it run. Her conclusion is not subtle. She argues that the ability to rest, to reflect, to let the mind wander inward is not a luxury or a personality trait. It is the biological basis of identity itself. It is how you know who you are. It is how you decide what matters. It is how you build a self. Without it, you do not become more productive. You become less you. This is what nobody tells you when they sell you the 5 a.m. routine and the hustle and the grind. They are not selling you success. They are selling you the systematic destruction of the only mental process that produces the kind of thinking that actually changes your life. The default mode network is where you figure out who you are, what you believe, what you want, what you regret, what you should do next. And we have spent the last 200 years calling it laziness. Here is what your ancestors knew that you forgot. The Hadza people of Tanzania spend significant portions of their day doing what modern observers describe as nothing. Sitting, resting, talking, not hunting, not building, just being. Researchers who have spent time with them consistently note something strange. They do not appear to suffer from the chronic low-level exhaustion that defines modern life. They are not burned out. They are not anxious in the diffuse background way that most people in developed countries now accept as normal. They let their brains do what brains were built to do. And here's the hardest part. You already knew this. Every time you got your best idea in the shower, you knew. Every time a solution appeared on a walk that had escaped you for days at a desk, you knew. Every time you woke up at 3 a.m. with the answer, you knew. Your brain has been trying to tell you this for your entire life. And every time it happened, you filed it away as a lucky accident instead of what it actually was. Evidence. Evidence that the thing you were told was your greatest flaw is actually one of the most sophisticated biological systems ever produced by 4 billion years of evolution. Your restlessness is not a bug. It is not weakness. It is not something to be fixed with a better morning routine or a stricter schedule or another productivity app. It is your brain asking for what it needs to do its best work.
The next time you catch yourself staring out the window, doing nothing, thinking about nothing in particular, you have two choices. You can reach for your phone, fill the gap, stay busy, perform the productivity that someone else invented for a factory floor 200 years ago. Or you can sit there and let the most powerful information processing system ever built do exactly what it was designed to do. You were never lazy. You were just never given permission to be human.